Hello. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so stoked we can do this. This is my very first live for Private Parts Unknown. So
Oh, so
thank you
exciting.
for popping my cherry.
It's my very first live on Substack as well. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I guess as we're like waiting for people to trickle in, um, can you just give people a little bit of a like background, who you are, and yeah, a little bit about
Sure.
you?
Sure. So I'm Becca Rea-Tucker. I am an author, baker, and reproductive justice advocate based in Austin, Texas. I have a new book coming out called The Abortion Companion, an affirming handbook for your choice and your journey. And I'm also the author of the cookbook Baking by Feel.
Amazing. I am so excited to talk to you because I have been seeing your adorable cakes for like
Uh,
literally years now.
yes, many years. Yes.
So tell us about you have an Instagram. It's The Sweet Feminist. And I just remember being like instantly smitten the first time I saw one of those message cakes. So like
That's
what was
sweet.
the inspiration and why did that, like, feel like the right vibe for talking about abortion and reproductive
Sure.
justice?
So I am a baker also. So I'm a writer and a baker. And I liked making cakes and I wanted to get involved. Somehow I wanted to connect with other people and I knew that involved, probably social media. Like I got involved in my community as well, but there's a lot of people on social media. So I decided that I would use cake as my medium and I was going to start putting, feminist messages, defined broadly on these cakes. And I did that for a long time. And then I decided, you know what, like I love talking about abortion access. Like I'm really gonna go all in and I'm gonna become, an expert on abortion access. So that's what I've decided to do. And the cakes have kind of fallen by the wayside along the way. I focus more on my writing and longer form stuff now.
Mhm.
But the cakes are eye catching. They're beautiful. There's just something about when you see a cake on your phone, you're like, oh, I want to look at that.
Yeah, it's, like, so accessible and, like, a fun way to talk about something kinda serious.
Right.
What year was it when you kind of started this
I think
Instagram
that
journey?
was 2018.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I mean, almost a decade, which is wild to me now. It seems yeah, it's a long time to be on the internet.
That is a trip to think
Yeah, but
about.
mhm.
So tell us a little because you have this whole community around the Sweet Feminist. So, like, how like, tell us about that and, like, what reactions
Yeah.
have you gotten from these people?
Sure. So I love my community. They are so amazing. I mean, the repro community as a whole is amazing,
Mhm.
and my particular, audience followers, they are wonderful. I started this thing this week where I'm doing a book swap where I am connecting people who want to donate copies of The Abortion Companion with recipient organizations, so like funds, clinics, student groups, that kind of thing. And we are up to 150 books as of this week. And I've had 50 donors, I think 39 organizations, recipient organizations. So it's just amazing that, my community is willing to support other people, even if they don't need, help right now themselves. They are willing to help someone else that they don't know.
Yeah, and I loved like, there are, crowdsourced, some movies to watch in your book,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
love that that came from your community.
Yeah. Yeah. Because one of the really difficult parts about, having an abortion is actually being pregnant and not wanting to be pregnant. And so part of my book is about that sort of waiting period. And I have a list of comfort shows, comfort movies, other activities that you can do. But yes, I crowdsource the movies. I've not seen them all. And some of them are like horror films, but some people take comfort in horror films. So like, I don't know. I'm not judging the list. The list is what it is, but yeah, it's just things that my community suggested as their favorite comfort movies.
I have been thinking about writing a horror film about pregnancy.
Oh, amazing. Yes, I would love to watch that.
Okay, so, yeah, let's get into the book. Tell us about The Abortion Companion and how that came to be.
Yes. So I wrote The Abortion Companion because we need more affirming resources for people who have abortions. So like there are resources out there, but typically they are really rooted in remorse, regret, shame,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. And that is not what my book is about at all. My book is completely shame free. It's written to meet you wherever you are in your abortion experience, recognizing that everybody's experience is totally different. And all of them are valid. All of your feelings that you have, even if they are complicated, are okay. So it's like a compilation of different things, like history, like abortion 101, like what is actually going to happen when I have an abortion? Because like lots of people, like they don't know like what's the actual thing. And that section was reviewed by an OBGYN abortion provider here in Texas, Dr. Gosla Moyetti. So that was amazing to have her do that. But it also has things like meditations. So like I have a meditation about letting go of, beliefs you might have about
Hmm.
abortion yourself, your abortion, releasing those into a lake. So it's just a mix of things designed to, if you open it up, hopefully there's something there that will support you through your abortion experience. If you've had an abortion 30 years ago, whether you're having one tomorrow, or if you just want to support someone you love.
I so enjoyed reading it, and yeah, it is like exactly the companion I would have
Mm,
loved to have, 20 years ago when I had my
yeah.
abortion.
Hmm.
So thank you for writing it.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, I was 23, I think, and there was so much like shame around it for me, even though I felt
Hmm.
like it was definitely the best
Yep.
decision. And so
Hmm.
I would love to you share your story in the book, but I would love to get a little bit of that, and I feel like that was part of
Yes.
your journey as well.
Yes. So I had an abortion 12 years ago. I was a college student in Iowa. And like you said, I knew immediately that I wasn't going to continue the pregnancy, that I was going to have an abortion. And I knew that was the right choice for me, the right path for me, but I had no idea how to move forward. No idea how to access care,
Mhm.
no idea how to feel okay about it. So I spent like a lot of time just being like frantic, like Googling like abortion Iowa. And it's like, that's sometimes not really helpful.
That's
Google's not
scary.
not a really reliable source of information about abortion care. And so yeah, that's where it comes out for me. And I didn't tell anyone for 5 years. So like I just kept it secret. I was like,
Mm.
"Yes, I'm proud of this decision. I'm glad I did it, but I'm afraid of what other people will say to me. I just don't want to deal with that." So I spent lots of time doing that. But as I started the Sweet Feminist, I started to connect with more people online who have had abortions and are in the repro movement, and that started giving me a lot more confidence to share my own abortion story because I talked about abortion before I started sharing my own story. I would, post cakes that said, pro choice, pro cake. But before I had shared my own story. So even after I had done that, it took me a while to get to the point of sharing my own story, which seems crazy to me now. Like, I talk about this every day. This is like, it's wild to me to think about. But yeah, that is what it used to be like for me.
Yeah, that so resonates with me because I feel like I've always been a feminist even before I, like, identified really with the term,
Sure.
and yet, it's crazy how much, like, shame I think just, like,
Yeah.
societal shame I took on, and I also like, I didn't even tell the I had a terrible partner at the time, so, like, I
Hmm.
didn't even tell the person involved,
Yep.
just and
Sure.
and didn't tell a soul for, yeah, like, 2 or 3 years, and then
Yep.
didn't tell wasn't comfortable really talking about it in public for probably,
Yes.
like, a decade.
Right.
And then now I can't imagine,
Yeah.
now I have none of that. So,
Yeah.
I would
Which
love
is
for you to
beautiful.
yes, I am so and I hope I can be a little bit of an inspiration for, you know, other people that are going through it. I write about it in my
Yeah.
debut memoir, and you're
I am
like,
so excited for this memoir. What is
"Thank
your
you."
pub date again?
April 1st.
Okay, April 1st. That's a good one.
Yay, 2026 pubs.
Yay.
But
So
yeah,
exciting.
if you could speak a little bit more to that, because it's like societal level
Oh, yeah.
shame, it seems like, and like that
Yes.
kind of expectation of remorse, which for
Yes.
me was like the hardest part about the whole thing.
Yes. So, stigma is everywhere. Abortion stigma is everywhere. It's literally on our billboards, like You
Mhm.
can't, you can't go on a road trip without seeing an anti-abortion billboard. And so even okay, the stigma is societal, but it's also within our own selves because no one, if we've never heard anybody talk about their abortion story, we think that it's much rarer than it is when
Mhm.
we know that 1 in 4 people who can get pregnant will have an abortion in their lifetime. So it's not rare; it's a common experience, but we're sort of deceived because nobody wants to share their abortion story if it's going to be met with judgment or something like that. So yes, the shame and the stigma permeates everything. But it doesn't have to be that way. Like there are absolutely ways to talk about abortion and people who have them that are stigma free. And so my content, the stuff that I write, is specifically for people who have abortions and people who love us. So I'm not worried about the anti-abortion people. Like, what are they going to think about what Becca's saying? Like, they're going to be anti-abortion regardless. So I try to show up for people who have abortions the best way I can, regardless of that.
Yeah. You have a daughter, and
Mhm.
there's this common misconception that people who get abortions and mothers are like two
Right.
entirely different categories.
Which is wild. I
Can
don't
you
know who
speak
they
to
think
that a
these
little
people
bit?
are.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So another thing we know is that the majority of people who have abortions are already parents. So I mean that's just we know it's not true that they're separate categories. And I consider having my abortion and having my daughter as two reproductive decisions that I've made based on the same set of values. They're not in contradiction at all for me. But when I had my abortion initially, I was very afraid that I wasn't going to be able to enjoy parenthood, like that it was going to be ruined, like this was my shot, and if I didn't take it, like I didn't deserve to be a parent in the future. I'm really sad for myself thinking that now
Yeah.
because I have my daughter. I am obsessed with her. Like she's 2 years old. She's so much fun. I've always known I wanted to be a parent, and I am. I had an abortion, and I have my daughter, and I'm proud of both of those things.
Yeah, when I'm like thinking through if I'm gonna take the plunge, the motherhood
Hmm.
plunge now,
Oh, cool.
but I think, there's no way, like, if I do it, I will be a good parent to
Of
this
course.
child because I made that
Of
decision.
course. Of
Yeah.
course, yes. And one of some of my favorite comments that or messages that people send to me are about their moms and how their moms have shared their abortion experiences with them and shared how it allowed them to, build this life that they want, which included their child, which is just so beautiful to me to hear that um, from these they're adults, but adults of mothers who have had abortions.
Yeah, totally. So you
Yeah.
used the term pro-abortion versus pro-choice,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people are afraid of that
Yes.
term.
I
So
under
why
yes.
is that?
Yes. So I used to say pro choice when I first started, the Sweet Feminist first started talking about abortion. I used pro choice. But over time, I realized that that term was insufficient for me because pro choice isn't meaningful if there isn't actually a choice. And, increasingly so over the years, like there is less of a choice in so many places. And so it's not a powerful term for me, first of all. And second of all, the choices are not equally respected.
Mhm.
So there's nothing wrong with saying abortion. There's nothing wrong with saying I'm pro abortion because there's nothing wrong with abortion or the people who have them. And so for me, it is just something that speaks directly to our experiences, affirms our experiences. And it's okay that language adapts. It's okay that as you get more information, and as our society changes, it's okay that our language and terms change as well. There's like no shame in changing what changing your language as you learn more.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I love that embrace of that term, and it's like, no, I'm not campaigning for people to get abortions if they don't want them.
Right.
It's a validating
Yes.
term if you want that.
Absolutely. I want people to make whatever choice is right for them. That is what reproductive justice is. It's the ability to parent or not with safety in support with our communities. And so that includes, that includes parenting, that includes having an abortion. Whatever you want for yourself is what I want for you. And that's the difference between us and the anti-abortion movement.
Mhm. So we are at obviously a very fraught time in American abortion history. Can you give
Mhm.
us just a couple highlights? Because, like, it has not always been like this. I love how you laid it out in the book.
Yeah.
Um, a couple highlights about where we've been and where we are now.
Yeah, so abortion is currently restricted or banned in some form in 41 states, which people are, really surprised by that number. But that includes things like viability limits.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, access is just being chipped away strategically over time. This is what they wanted to, overturn Roe. And via the Hyde Amendment, we can't use federal funding to
Yeah.
pay for abortion care. So there have been things over time. Roe wasn't enough. Roe was never enough. It was the floor, not the ceiling. So our goal moving forward isn't to restore Roe. It's to imagine a future where everyone can access abortion care that they need, regardless of their circumstance, who they are, where they are.
What are kind of the forces, when you were putting together the history, what are the kind of the forces that have led to the restrictions kind of in the first wave and then more recently?
Yeah. So first, there was a push to take away birth from midwives. So to put care into the hands of doctors. So to delegitimize midwife practice, which included abortion care.
Mhm.
So there's that. Then later, there is the church, getting involved, and they were not always. Abortion was not always one of American Christian churches' primary things. That was a strategic thing for them. And so that came later. The pressure, um, religious pressure came later. But I do want to emphasize that there absolutely are affirming religious places as well. That's something that's in my book. People, deserve support from their faith communities for having abortions, and there are affirming organizations. So in the book, I have a list of resources for people, just in case, just as an aside.
That's amazing. Um, yeah, I have to say, so we were just chatting before we came on, but like moved to Texas in the last year. And
Mhm.
as I'm thinking about if I want to have a kid, like it's terrifying to think about
Yes.
getting pregnant here.
Yes, yes, because people have abortions who want to remain pregnant, and people have abortions who don't want to remain pregnant. All kinds of people who have abortions um, deserve our support. And so here in Texas, we have a complete ban. So you cannot access care here in Texas unless you can access care through the medical system unless um, there's these very specific set of circumstances that are very narrow. But exceptions don't work. So what ends up happening is that people end up, bleeding out in the parking lot, or having to drive 14 hours to access care in New Mexico. And
Even if
so
you wanted the baby and
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Abortion bans put all pregnant people at risk, whether you think that you would have an abortion or not.
yeah.
Pregnancy is unpredictable. You don't know like what's gonna happen. That became very clear to me through being pregnant here and having my daughter here in Texas. Like I had a midwife that I loved and really trusted, but it's very scary. Even if you want to be pregnant.
So you did it since the rollback.
Yes. Hmm.
Oh my God.
So I created a plan with my midwife. If something happens, this is what we're gonna do. And I think everybody should have some kind of safety plan like that if you are pregnant.
Yeah, I think I recently read a stat like Texas is like the most highest maternal mortality in the
Yes,
country right now.
yes, and they're trying to not report on it as well here in Texas. I'm not sure what's going on exactly with that right now, but I know they're trying to um, sweep that under the rug.
Oh, that's terrifying. Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about later abortion. a lot of people hear this referred to as late term abortion. It's frequently weaponized in the discourse.
Mhm.
And, I have to admit, like, there's medically necessary, but there's other reasons people have later abortions. It is kind of a like uncomfortable topic for a lot of people, even myself included, but I'm well aware that it's like a slippery slope when you start putting too many regulations in place. And
Yes.
also, they're incredibly rare. So, could you just, what should people know about later
Yeah.
abortions?
So they should know that there is no point in pregnancy in which the state should decide what happens to you in your body. So that means that any restriction on care is harmful, is unacceptable. We can't have any restrictions on care. But to learn more about later abortion, I love Dr. Shelley Sella's book Beyond Limits. I read it this year. I read it in
Mm,
2025, and it was my favorite book of 2025 actually, because she is the first woman to provide all trimester care in the United States. She's retired now, but her book is incredibly compassionate. She goes through several stories of people who actually came to her clinic, and what the circumstances were that led them to her, and what that process was like throughout. So if you are interested in learning more about later abortion, I just really, really recommend that. And then an organization called Patient Forward, who does a lot of advocacy for people who have later abortions, because basically they get left behind. People who have later abortions get left behind in our movement a lot, and they're sacrificed to get crumbs.
hmm
And we need to support everyone. We can't cherry pick and say these are specific
hmm
situations in which uh, we support people. All we need to do is say, I support people who have abortions. That's it. You don't need to add any kind of caveat or qualifier beyond that.
Just because it is so weaponized in the discourse, could you give us some like reasons beyond, like fetal
Sure.
abnormalities and things like that, why people choose later abortion?
Yes. So as care is becoming increasingly restricted, it takes people longer to find somewhere to access care. And then there are barriers like finding childcare, getting time off work. Some people don't realize they're pregnant until later in the pregnancy. Sometimes people their health is at risk. Um, Yes, and I go through a list of
Yeah, you've got a lot in there.
situations in the book, but there are many situations that lead people to have abortions later in pregnancy, and they deserve our support no matter what.
Yeah, as I was reading that, I was interrogating my own bias on it and just like
Sure.
think like, oh wow, there are actually like all this whole laundry list of reasons why
Yes.
you might s-
Another one I thought about is someone who is stuck with an abusive partner
yeah,
and trying to get to safety. Is another reason as well.
totally.
Yeah.
So as you've done all this research and really like gotten deeply involved in the movement, have you wrapped your head around like how we start getting our reproductive rights back? Is
Yeah, I mean, it's just like we will still have abortions. We are still having abortions. Abortion pills are safe and available. And that is something that is different from, before Roe.
Mhm,
That's a huge difference. I don't know how we're going to get our rights back. Everything is so fucked, messed up right
mhm.
now. But I know that our movement has been working within these terrible conditions for a long time. We're used to working within um, challenges. So I know we can count on us to keep fighting and make sure that everybody can access care regardless of what happens on a legal level.
One thing that is kind of heartening, even like it's still so pervasive, but when they have the like local elections about it, and it'll be like
Mhm.
even in a really conservative place, and they'll be like, actually, but we do want our abortion
Hey,
rights.
right.
Yeah,
Yes. I mean, yes, people want access to abortion care. Um, it's just you have to present it in a way that's like, oh yeah, I do. I want that.
Mhm, totally.
Hmm.
So if someone is listening right now and they're like pregnant and unsure, or they've just been like frantically Googling
Hmm.
their options, like what do you
Yeah.
want them to hear first before anything else?
I want them to hear that it will be okay. You didn't do anything wrong, and I support you no matter what you decide to do. A good place to figure out what all of your options are is ineedanA.com. So it has high quality information that is continuously updated. So I would say that is like the gold standard for where to find information about accessing care, no matter where you live. Um,
Amazing.
yeah,
And of course, the abortion companion.
of
Um,
course, the abortion companion as well.
and what can like if you're supporting if you're a partner or a friend or a family member of someone who
Mhm.
is thinking about having an abortion or currently getting an abortion, how can someone be a great ally?
Yeah, so I have a whole list in the book of things that you can do to support your loved one who is having an abortion. But the most important thing is that you just show up, you be there, and you listen to what they're telling you. So whether that's like, I want you to like leave me alone and go sit in the other room, and I'm going to sit here. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's like, I need you to go to the store and get me some Advil and some pads. It's definitely like keeping this information like private. If you should never share someone's abortion story if they've shared it with you and you aren't sure that they um, are, happy for you to share it. Um, yeah, I would say those are some major things. Like being a personal assistant is really good. Like just like figuring out, okay, like, yeah, this is like where the clinic is. This is how we can get there. Like answering texts. I like hate responding to people, especially when things are hard. So if you want to text from my phone, that might be helpful for some people.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
so
providing childcare as
oh my god,
well.
yes.
Just like, yeah, feed them anything to that you would do to support someone you love through something hard.
It was so like I don't know. For me, it was so healing to be able to support a friend of mine, like,
Yeah.
later, like,
Mhm.
after I had had my own abortion and
Right.
just let her know, like, "It's okay that you're
Yeah,
doing this."
absolutely.
It was such a
Yes,
powerful experience for me.
absolutely.
I
That's
loved
beautiful.
again, I loved the book. Is there anything
Thank
else you
you.
wanna tell people before we wrap?
Uh, I can't think of anything.
We
Join my
covered
book
it?
swap. If you
Yeah.
want to send books to people, I have a Google form for donators, a Google form for requesting organizations. So do that if you'd like to, but that's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your work on this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Courtney.
Bye, guys.
Bye.